this special session called Startup Engage. And this program is an exclusive program in which the top leadership of iHub and Government of Gujarat are directly interacting with innovators, startups from different sectors in the state. They belong to various incubation centers, are supported by Student Startup and Innovation Policy. Sir, since a while, we have been getting a lot of inputs and queries from a lot of startups related to the taxation and financial strategy, and particularly GST. So, as Madam had suggested, we have kept this special session Startup Engage program today to have an interaction and insights from you as you are spearheading that in the state. And we had got some questions from startups related to GST and related aspects. So we had shared a few questions with you. And apart from that, you can also address the broad aspects of how startups and GST are interlinked and startups can leverage those tools. So having said that, I would like to welcome you, sir. Today we have Anju Madam, the chairperson of iHub and the person behind the Student Startup and Innovation Movement in the state. Nagarajan sir, our board member of iHub, and Dr. Himanshu Pandya will be shortly joining, the Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University and Chief Mentor iHub. So welcome all of you for this special session. All the innovators, startups who are listening to us through Facebook Live, stay tuned. This session is going to be very amazing because we have the best people in the domain to talk to you. I would like to now welcome Nagarajan sir to introduce sir.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to welcome Sri J.P. Gupta, who is a very senior IAS officer and currently is handling the responsibility of Commissioner of State Taxes in Government of Gujarat. Now, he is a best suited person to guide the students and startups with regard to taxation, and he has also very wide administrative experience in various sectors and domains. And this Startup Engage program, where we are trying to guide the startups in a more directed and a clear, purposeful way for their problems, where we take questions and we try to answer of the government and mentors. Spend half an hour with each startup to provide guidance to them. And I'm also happy to welcome Madam Anju Sharma, who is the Principal Secretary of Higher and Technical Education and who has been driving this startup innovation initiative across Gujarat, and it has gained roots in every village and town of Gujarat now. And in this session, in this series, today's session asks a very important aspect, which is the taxation, the GST aspect. And I would now kindly request J.P. Gupta sir to share his views and guide the startups on this very, very important topic.
Thank you, Nagarajan, for your wonderful introduction. And I thank Anju Sharma for giving me this opportunity for interacting with participants who are starting new business or planning to start a new initiative. GST, as all of you might know, is the premier indirect tax in the country. I am starting with a small presentation, and thereafter, if there are questions, we can take up questions. I am presenting GST from point of view of startups or those who are planning to start their business afresh. There are few simple questions I thought I'll pose before you and try to answer in next 15 minutes or so. That for a beginner, what kind of questions that arise in his or her mind, and then what they need to know about these things. So I'll just take this. So these are the few questions that I would like to pose before you. I'll be putting these questions before you and then try to seek answers for these questions. GST as a tax, what all I need to do is, do I need to pay? Most fundamental question, whether anybody is required to pay tax, or particularly as a startup, whether my liability to pay tax really arises. So these two questions Do I need to pay tax? When does my liability to pay tax arise? If at all I need to pay tax, how much tax I should pay? When am I required to pay tax? Do I need to get registered if I were to conduct a business? And lastly, can I do it by myself or do I need assistance of other persons? I'll just take the first question. Do I need to pay tax? Yes. Answer is unequivocal and clear that if you are doing a business, you are required to pay tax. But it is subject to certain exemptions, which I'll be taking up later on, that not everyone will be required to pay tax. So it's a mandatory, but there are certain exemptions which are given to a particular class of people. First question is, why I need to pay tax? What if I don't pay? Very simple question. Most of the people get this query. Unless taxes are paid, governments will not run. We will not be able to defend our country. We will not be able to have roads. We may not be able to help poor. So certain people are required to pay tax in order to do certain functions by the government and then to take care of those who do not have those resources to take care of themselves. So tax is a means to do common functions as well as help poor and needy. In the absence of tax, will not be having a really caring society. Else, certain people will have resources, they will take care of themselves, other people will suffer. What are different kind of taxes? Most of you know. Broadly, we categorize them in two categories: direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax is a tax paid by a person directly, means it is his liability that he pays. He cannot shift the burden of tax on any other person. Like income tax, if I earn some money, I have to pay out of my income that tax. That's why it is called direct tax. GST falls in the category of indirect tax, that I really don't pay from my pocket. I take it from somebody else. In this case, the somebody else is consumer. I take it from him and then I pay. So I'm basically acting as an agent of the government to collect tax and pay. It is not going essentially from my pocket. So this is the broad distinction between direct and indirect tax. GST is an indirect tax. Goods and services tax, you might have heard a lot about it. I've tried to capture in few words what does it really mean. It's a tax on supply of goods and services. If you supply any goods to anyone else, the earlier terminology was sale of goods. Now the terminology that is being used is supply, because now it becomes a common tax for goods as well as services, and services can't be sold. Services are typically performed. So the common terminology that has been used is supply of goods or services from one person to another. Then this tax comes into being. As I said earlier, it is collected by the supplier from recipient of supply. So the ultimate burden of tax falls on the consumer. So if you are purchasing any of the things, whether you are purchasing a car or a TV or getting an insurance policy or purchasing a say train ticket or plane ticket or a cinema ticket, the tax on that is ultimately paid by the consumer. The tax is paid by the consumer, but it is based on principle of value addition. So if there are 5 people involved in the whole value chain, and as the value gets added at every stage, that person is paying tax. The final total tax which accumulates on that good or service is ultimately paid by consumer, but that tax at different stages is paid by different people who are involved in that value chain. Two things most significant about GST. Number one, it's common all over the country. Whole of India is administered by the single law, single tax. So whether you are in Gujarat or Maharashtra or for that matter Lakshadweep or Arunachal Pradesh, this is the same tax, same rate, same system of administration. So all through the country, we have got what is the theory? One nation, one tax. So it's a common all over the country. But in administration, we have got rather peculiar arrangement that it is a tax which is concurrently levied by both center and the state and also administered by both center and the state. We have the division of taxpayers between center and state. Certain taxpayers are administered by center, certain other taxpayers are administered by the states. When do I really pay my tax? When my liability arises. Since it's a tax on supply of goods or services, so unless I make a supply, tax is not there. So simply holding goods does not tax. So unless I indulge in the sale or supply, this tax really does not arise. Secondly, if I give as a gift without any consideration, there won't be a tax. So it's when there is a transfer of goods or performance of service with some consideration from one person to another, then and then only this tax liability arises, otherwise tax liability would not arise. There are certain goods and services which are tax exempt. For example, education services. Primary education, secondary education, college education, university education is all tax free. You are not required to pay tax. But certain courses are taxable courses. So some higher education courses become taxable. So one needs to see that whether my goods or services are tax free or taxable. That needs to be seen, like the grains are tax free, but flour made out of wheat is taxable. So that distinction we need to see whether the goods and services I am dealing in has got tax burden on it. Second important distinction here, of which I see the question also, that unless your turn exceeds certain minimum threshold, you are not taxable. It means smaller businessmen, smaller entrepreneurs are tax free, and these limits presently stand at 40 lakhs per annum on goods. If you are indulging to supply of goods, then it's 40 lakh. If you are indulging in services, then it's 20 lakh. How much tax I need to pay depends on three things: turnover of supply, rate of tax, and value addition that has been made by you. There are four major rates of tax, and there are few others on specific commodities. Smaller dealers also get the composition facilities that if you are smaller, you can pay a lump sum amount on your turnover, and that would be the tax. Normally, your net liability will come is the tax applicable on your outputs, that's called your output supplies, minus tax paid on inputs that you purchase. So it's net of the two that is required to be paid by a particular person. When do I pay? It's normally a monthly payment, but there are people who can pay it quarterly. The online payment system is available. You can pay through any portal, any banking system. A return has to be filed along with that. And most importantly, in certain cases, you can be eligible for refunds. If you are exporting, means you are paying tax on input, but output taxes are free, so you get refunds. If you are purchasing a goods of 12% and maybe output is 5%, you will be eligible for refunds. So instead of making payment, you will receive refund from the department. Do you need to get registered? Yes. If turnover is beyond threshold limit, registration is mandatory. Registration facility is available completely online. Within 3 days is given. You will be falling under jurisdiction of either central authority or state authority that is decided by the toss of coin, or by the system. No one directly takes care. Nobody can decide. No subjective assessment. It is done by the system. Important part is that you will need a GSTN, that is called GST registration number. Without this number, you will find real difficulty in transacting business. But every person who's indulging into business will ask for this number. So, if you are starting business and you are thinking that you are going to deal with any other dealer, any other taxpayer who's having this number, they will ask for this number. So, it's better that while starting business, this number is obtained. Lastly, there are a lot of small things, lot of big things, there are a lot of simple things, there are complications, depend on your nature of business. Can you do it yourself, or will you need help of a chartered accountant or a tax consultant? Yes, most of the facilities are available online. A small business you can do online. You need to just go through the basics, that what are the basics returns to be filed, in what format it is to be done, and softwares are available, like from Tally to large number of softwares are available which you can install, put details, and they will automatically generate the returns and other formats. So simply, if you want to do yourself, take your registration, which is online, file your returns periodically, which is monthly or quarterly, and pay tax on time. If you do these three simple things, no tax implementer or tax inspector should bother you at any point of time. In any case, we are keeping that interaction of tax inspector to the taxpayer to the minimum. Friends, this was what I wanted to present before you. In a nutshell, how GST looks like for a beginner. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, couple of questions that we have received from startups with permission from you, and Anju Madam, I will put forward those questions. One question I can see from a startup is, under the Startup India program, there are some incentive for startups in taxation. So does GST also provide some exemptions to startups who are registered in Department of Commerce and others?
Right now, there is no exemption from the payment of GST to any startup, or for that matter, any MSME or big industry. If there is any incentive, even under any scheme of the government, it is normally reimbursement, that once you pay the tax and then receive it back. As far as GST payment is concerned, there is no exemption for any.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, one question I can see from a startup from Surat. He says, what is the reverse charge mechanism and equalization leverage? How it impacts early stage startups in GST regime?
Reverse charge mechanism is a novel concept in GST format. Certain goods or services are sold by a person who is not registered. So when a registered person purchases it, he is not paying tax on those purchases to the government. So when a registered person purchases these supplies, then he has to book tax on those purchases, which is called reverse charge on these supplies. Later on, he can take tax credit on that. So essentially, he is paying and then taking the tax credit, and this tax credit is available while paying the tax. It is mainly used when you are purchasing goods from unregistered people.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, one startup is asking, are there some strategic sectors in which GST is exempted for startups, or is it for all sectors?
GST is not exempted to anyone except for goods and services which are listed in the Act. There are a lot of goods, as I said, milk is exempted, grains are exempted. So there are a lot of other goods which are exempted. Similarly, in services, a lot of services like say health sector, education sector is exempted. So those are exemptions under GST law. But to any specific area, specific industry, there is no exemption as far as GST is concerned. As I said earlier, let me repeat it. If anyone wants, any government agency has given any relief, it is by way of reimbursement, not exemption from payment of tax.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, would you like to little bit highlight about the composition scheme and how startups and small business may take benefit of this?
Composition scheme as a deviation from the normal scheme of things under GST. As I said earlier, that normally a GST has to be paid on what is your output liability, and out of that you deduct how much tax you have paid on your purchases. That is your net tax liability. Certain people find it difficult to calculate, on these two sides. So they have been given that whatever is your turnover, that is your output liability, on that output liability you pay certain percentage. Presently that is 1% of the turnover as your composition levy. This restriction currently applies to a turnover of 2 crores. But up to 2 crores, you can pay 1% of your turnover as tax, and then you need not maintain, your record of inputs and others. That could be beneficial for startups, but about 5 to 7% people are opting for it in the country. Maybe it depends on what is your kind of business, but there is a restriction that once you do that, your output, whosoever purchases, they will not get input tax credit. So any registered person will not buy any goods or services from you. Then you are directly selling it to consumer. So those kind of restrictions would be.
Wonderful, sir. I think that's quite useful for all the startups at this stage. Sir, a lot of our startups are in marketplace segment or their online business models. So, what are the things that are prescribed in GST for online business models, particularly the e-commerce and marketplaces?
There are two things, and e-commerce and platforms when people are operating. First is the kind of people who are selling their merchandise or services online. So they need to pay tax. Whether you sell it offline or online or direct selling, you will be required to pay tax. Certain other people only provide platform, they are not selling their goods. On their platform, other people are coming and selling their goods or services. Like say Amazon is doing, and so many other people are doing, who just provide a platform on which buyer and seller both come and they transact. If it is not a platform, if you are directly selling, GST is applicable as usual. There is no exemption. If you are just providing platform and you are not making any supply, it is just a platform. In that case, you are required to deduct 1% of TDS, tax deducted at source, and then whoever is making sale or supply, then he has to square his tax liability accordingly. So it is applicable to these two categories separately. In certain cases, let me just give an example. Like say, let's take example of Ola, which is providing a lot of transport services. In that case, though supply is provided by a driver or a cab, but the complete onus of payment of tax is on to Ola, or for that matter any other Uber or other suppliers. But like in case of Amazon, the tax liability of Amazon is to the extent of TDS, and rest of the tax has to be paid by the supplier of goods or services.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, this is a question from the manufacturing startups. There is a perception that this GST somehow seems to be a little bit burden for manufacturing related startup companies, particularly when we're talking about Make in India and all these things. And the question is do you feel there is a disadvantage of manufacturing startup in GST compared to the VAT or something in the higher tax burden based on turnover criteria?
Absolutely not. GST is uniform for all. Whether you are a startup, whether you are a big company, or you are a middle sector, whatever be your level, GST makes no distinction between one person to another. Unfortunately, there was a distinction under excise law. Under excise law earlier, manufacturing up to certain limit was exempted. VAT also there was no exemption except for the threshold. So that exemption under excise is gone. So now it has become uniform for all. So that provides really level playing field for all kinds of people, irrespective of their turnover. If you are below threshold limit, no tax. If you are above threshold, if there are same goods, everybody pays the same tax. So to that extent, there is no fresh burden under GST. As a matter of fact, it provides real level playing field to all the people. Earlier, this was resulting into tax evasion by certain set of people, and that really became a big hindrance on startups because they were not able to manage it, and other people were really not allowing them to enter in the market.
Sir, there are certain countries who have been very proactively kind of creating little lean mechanism to support startups. Do you think our policy regime in taxation and others can be further little liberal for technology-based early stage companies, or are we ahead of other nations?
See, I mean, let us understand what GST has done to the country. Before GST, there was a tax levied by the center and tax levied by the state. There are multiple taxes. There was excise, there was customs, there was VAT, there was purchase tax, there are multiplicity of taxes. And then there was a cascading of tax. If I were to sell goods from say Gujarat to UP, I would pay tax on Gujarat, which will not be tax creditable in Uttar Pradesh. So there will be extra tax burden. It was not a national market. GST has done away with all. Now there is a one tax. Complete tax credit is available, so there is no tax burden wherever you are. So it flies clearly. The tax credit flows from one state to another seamlessly. So that seamlessness has been achieved. Cascading of tax has gone, and that's a common procedure all over the country. Now, as a matter of fact, we are moving towards a situation when still whatever the little complexity of procedure is there, that is done away with, and common procedures, as we are moving towards common rates also. That has not been possible. The moment common procedures and common rates are there, the compliance burden would come down on the taxpayer. Introducing any relief for any particular segment introduces quite a bit of complexity in the system. And GST, this has been an attempt to keep the system simple and straight.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, one question that I can see from the Facebook Live is the logistic companies or logistic related startups have really gained because of GST, because of seamless integrations and others, and also e-commerce. So, so do you think some other emerging areas who can literally leverage GST and our young people?
In the absence of a common taxation system in the country, lot of people were burdened with unnecessary cascade of tax, and they were not able to take tax credit. In this system, the efficient people are rewarded. Whatever value addition you made, you are paying tax on that, and there is no hidden tax. Unfortunately, I'll just give an example. There used to be a tax called central sales tax. So if I'm selling goods from one state to another, there is 2% tax paid, and I would not get tax credit. So a manufacturer of Gujarat selling in Gujarat will not pay tax, but if a Maharashtra person supplies goods to Gujarat, he will pay 2%. So there was not a level field. Now this has been done away. So GST attempt is to move towards simplicity, commonality, not introducing any kind of distortions, because that really doesn't help the tax system.
Wonderful, sir. In fact, sir, at iHub, the Gujarat Student Startup and Innovation Hub, we are creating a single window facility in which we will guide the early stage, particularly student entrepreneurs, on these aspects, so that when they are building technology products and companies, they are aware of all these nuances, and particularly the benefit, like if you are doing a turnover of less than 40 lakhs, they can literally benefit out of it. So I think these are certain informations, and I think all the questions that you took from all our startups are really useful, sir. And listening from horse's mouth is always something unique, and you knows inside outs of this thing. And I think these are certain questions we got from our startups. We have more than 200 startup companies which have emerged from our support system, and I'm sure all of them has got a lot of insights from this talk. And what we'll do is we'll summarize your inputs in a blog and share with all our innovators and startups. So thank you, sir, for sharing your insightful experiences. May I now request Dr. Himanshu Pandya, Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University and Chief Mentor of iHub, to say a few words.
Sir, good morning and welcome to iHub, sir. Gupta, sir.
Thank you, Mitchell.
I'm very happy to see you, sir.
Yeah, long time.
Coming to the point, GST, Hirmay, this is really important topic what we have selected for the discussion, and we are lucky to have Mr. Gupta on board. He is the highest authority to say something on the tax. So things would be much clear and loud to the beneficiaries. Our startups, they are emerging with their businesses and ideas. They don't know how to deal with the taxes, why to pay taxes, and how they can come out with the ease of doing business in their own enterprises. So I think this particular talk was directly aiming to the questions which are, making a complex system in the startup's mind. And with sort of practices, we can address so many things to ease the processes of their business establishment. With this, sir, I have one question. If somebody is registered old, suppose before GST was introduced, and they have certain conditions in their processes, that service tax and the other tax formats. So, how they can accommodate in a new tax format? That is the question, sir. If you can answer this.
1st of July, we have completed 3 years of GST. So now GST is a 3-year-old baby. In GST, it has subsumed service tax and VAT both. When the transition took place in 2017, whatever remaining, assets, that is your tax liability or tax credit was available, that was allowed to be migrated in the GST. Even registration number which was there under either law was allowed to be migrated, and that facility, that window was provided and was open for almost a year's time. Thereafter, that window has been now closed. So if you have a registration number under VAT or service tax, definitely a person must have migrated to GST regime. If it is not migrated, that number has been cancelled subsequently. There was tax credit, the same tax credit was allowed, that is called tran credit, transitional credit. Through that system, that credit what was available to him under the VAT regime was also allowed. I don't think right now at this moment there is anything remaining from these two regimes except for some pending assessments and inquiries and maybe recovery.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this insight. Now, for the startup, those who are listening to this conversation, I just want to give you some orientation about the formats what you are following. You need to be in contact with your CAs or your tax consultant, those who are addressing your issues, at least once in a quarter. Sometimes it happens that we all the time hurry at the end of the filing of the final tax submission, and that is creating problem. So I think if you are regularly in contact with them, then you can organize your finances and organize your taxation part very nicely, and that would help you growing your business. There is always a fear in mind, back of the mind, that how would I address this tax issue. And Hiranmay, congratulations to you and the team iHub that you have selected this topic. This is really need of a time. Everyone, those who are looking for establishment of new business, they need to understand how these tax formats are working and how much they are essential and part of their business. So, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for guiding throughout the entire process. Dr. Pandya has been our chief mentor for iHub and guiding us various programs. At this outset, I would like to request Madam Anju Sharma, Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education, and Chairperson of Gujarat Startup and Innovation Hub, to share her thoughts.
Namaskar. First of all, let me thank my batchmate and my colleague, Dr. J.P. Gupta, Chief Commissioner of State Taxes, who has come today and guided all our startups. GST and taxation issues are very, very critical for startups, and more important issue in deciding the marketability of the product, fixing of the prices, and all the other things. So I had been receiving queries from various startups about the GST issues, and we have been referring them to our accounting departments. But Mr. J.P. Gupta, by remaining present here, has not only guided our all startup friends, but he has also encouraged and motivated all of us. And I think I would request him, I would request you to constantly guide our startups, because they are young students, budding startups who are constantly looking for support. And I would certainly invite you once again some other time. Thanks for associating with iHub. As at iHub, we are trying to create a single point umbrella place for these startups, especially the student startups, rather the student startups, where they can find all kind of facilitation for startups. And we have right from capacity building to mentoring to marketing support, to legal support. We're trying to provide all kind of services, along with a small incubator at the right time, right now. And this is going to get expanded in the coming years into a big incubator and accelerator as well. Under the SSIP, we have tried to create a pipeline for the startups, and we have largely been successful in that with the help of yes, all our well-wishers and dear friends. So once again, I thank you, Mr. Gupta, for remaining present with us and supporting, guiding, and motivating. Thank you so much.
Thanks to
Thank
the
you.
whole team.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Himanshu. Thank you, Nagarajan sir. Thank you, Gupta sir. And we have noted down all your suggestions. Time to time, whenever our startups come to the iHub desk, we will curate all these questions. We will come to you again and again. And I'm sure you have helped these success, and they can contribute significantly to the country's GDP and create values both for economy and society together. Thank you, sir, for joining today. Thank you so much for joining this.